Hi there, welcome to ecommerce. Time for a Kogan update. About a month since I did the last one. And when I did the last one, the share price got down to about $10. We saw a bit of a rally in the share price to $11.50. I think some people got aboard that rally, but for me, it was a rally based off no news. I think the share price was oversold. And for whenever I see the share price oversold, I don't get aboard any rallies. Then we actually did see the share price drift back to $10. And that was telling me this was not a shift in the sentiment of the company. And then on May the 21st, there was confirmation that there was no change in the sentiment of Kogan, because when they released this business update, there are still some issues they're trying to pull through. And the market reacted by sending the share price down 14%. I do believe the market is thinking too short term when it comes to Kogan. If they were thinking a few years in advance, even 5 to 10 years, the share price would be significantly higher than it is now, because there is significant tailwinds behind this business in the long term. There are, however, some headwinds they're facing in the shorter term. I do believe the issues Kogan is facing right now are short-term issues, and they will pull through eventually. And once they pull through, once they get their head just through the last issue, that's the time to take a position in this company. If I was a buy and hold investor, I would probably think of taking a position right now. Share price currently is $8.70. I'm doing this video just before opening on the Monday. Could expect maybe a bit of a rally in the share price today during trading. But if we do see the share price fall back any further, and if I was a buy and hold investor, I might take a small position now and then accumulate if the share price decreases any further, because I do believe in 5 to 10 years, the share price of Kogan will be significantly higher. I think there's a high probability of that, but I'm not a buy and hold investor. I'm a momentum and sentiment investor, so I'll wait for the sentiment to change, wait for some good news to drive the share price higher. I think that might be 3 to 6 months down the road. Just want to talk about the business update they did release on the 21st of May. There is one issue I do have with Kogan management over the past, say, 3 to 6 months. They've talked about that issue, and then towards the end of this update, they mentioned the lessons they have learned moving forward. And I think that's one of the reasons why I do believe once they get through these issues, they're going to become a much better company for it, simply because management have learned some lessons. Now, this is the issue I do have. It's the inability to judge the market, and they expanded too quickly. So they significantly expanded inventory and facilities, which have led to supply chain inefficiencies and inventory planning challenges. So I do think at one point in time they thought these tailwinds because of COVID-19 lockdowns were going to continue as we came out of the COVID-19 pandemic, and that just hasn't happened. So there's been lower customer demand, which has led to oversupply of inventory and high warehousing costs. And the inventory oversupply has meant they're going to increase their promotional activity, which will lead to lower margins and higher marketing costs. So that's the one big issue I've had with Kogan management over the past 3 to 6 months. They also talked about inflation, so this really has nothing to do with Kogan management. They don't control this, but they mentioned inflation a month ago, and they've also mentioned it in this announcement. It's just about cost of goods and international shipping. This is something they have no control over, but that's the same for every single company in the world at this point in time. And the last thing they did include in this update was an outlook, and they gave us their guidance for financial year 21 Ebitda, which was between 58 and 63 million. I'll talk about that in the future slides. They also mentioned how operating performance will be challenged in the near term or the short term. Again, I do believe the issues they're facing right now are short-term issues, and once they come through on the other end, that's the time to buy into Kogan. The one thing I really liked about the May 21st update from Kogan was the fact that they did give us some guidance in regards to adjusted EBITDA, a range of 58 to 63. Now, in isolation, that range of EBITDA or adjusted EBITDA means nothing. you need to know a bit of context. So if previous year was 100 million EBITDA, then that would be highly negative. Or if the previous year was only $10 million in EBITDA, it would be highly positive because that would be significant growth. So we need to know some context. So in this slide, I've given you the last 3 years of EBITDA, half-yearly EBITDA or adjusted EBITDA numbers. They didn't make a slight adjustment about 2 years going from EBITDA to adjusted EBITDA. There's not much difference between the two. So adjusted EBITDA doesn't take into account currency gains or losses, that sort of thing. So we go back to the first half of financial year 18, 14.1 million, and they were growing very slowly. And by the first half of financial year 20, that grew EBITDA to 18.2 million. Then, of course, Kogan was positively affected by the pandemic. People in lockdown were ordering more stuff online. So they grew EBITDA quite rapidly over that year from first half of financial year 20 to the first half of financial year 21, from 18.2 million to 51.7 million. And again, I think this is where Kogan made the mistake, thinking that expansion was going to continue, and they just expanded their inventory and their facilities a little bit too quickly. So they've given us the forecast range. So we know, because of that range, we actually do know what their expectations for EBITDA for this half year are going to be. And I did make some calculations, and I'll show you the results in the next slide. Since Kogan did give us these EBITDA expected numbers for the full year financial year 21 of a range between 58 and 63 million, and since we do know the official EBITDA numbers for the first half of the financial year, which were 51.7, we can calculate the EBITDA or expected EBITDA for the second half of this financial year. And it's going to be a range between 6.3 and 11.3 million. So all I've done is taken the halfway point of that, which was 8.8 million. And now we can compare the EBITDA or expected EBITDA for this second half of the financial year to previous half years, going back to the first half of financial year 18. And in comparison, this is Kogan's worst half over the past 3 years by a significant amount. And in fact, it's fallen by a significant amount in the previous half year. It's fallen from 51.7 million to 8.8 million. And the whole reason it's fallen off a cliff is because of these short-term issues, which more than likely the company will pull through. And once they pull through this and business starts to recover, and as soon as the market gets a little bit of hints that the business has recovered, that's when the share price should start recovering, and that's the time to get on board. And more than likely, the recovery in the share price will happen before Kogan release any positive news to the market. And my expectations will be they might give a hint in their full year results in August. And if they don't give us hints about recovery in EBITDA in August, it will occur by no later than October this year. And I do expect that I will become a shareholder in Kogan at that point in time. Although my favourite part of the business update was the fact that it did give us some guidance in regards to EBITDA. By far, my second favourite part of this announcement was the fact that they did acknowledge they have made mistakes and they have learned some valuable lessons over the last few months. So this little quote they give us towards the end of the update, I think a lot of people would have skipped this or wouldn't not even have noticed it. But this is one of the most important parts of the announcement, because they have learned, according to themselves, they have learned some valuable lessons. And this is very important that management are able to learn from their mistakes. And this is why I do think Kogan will come out on the other end of these short-term issues a much better company. Just an update to the trading of Kogan on the 24th of May. I did the initial part of this video before trading began. I was anticipating the potential of a small bounce in the share price of Kogan. When I'm talking about a small bounce, maybe 2 or 3%. I was not anticipating or even expecting the share price to increase 14.7% and close at $9.98, just shy of $10. In fact, just before this announcement on the 21st of May, the share price of Kogan closed at $10.15. So virtually there's been no change in Kogan's share price after this business update. And we actually have seen some good volume as well today. So this rise has been on good volume. So what the market is seeing here is potentially what I'm thinking about Kogan. These are short-term issues. And as Kogan pushes their way through these short-term issues, they'll come out on the other end a much better company. There could be some other issues at play here or some other reasons. Potentially an advising company has put out a recommendation for Kogan. That is also a possibility here. But you do have to listen to what the market is saying in these sort of situations. Why has the share price in Kogan bounced today? But in saying all that, the share price of Kogan is still in a well-defined downtrend. This has just returned to the moving averages. So I think the trading of Kogan over the next few weeks is going to be quite important. If the share price of Kogan can remain above $10, or even just get above $10, because it's just shy of $10 now, that will be quite bullish, because $10 is a natural resistance level once the share price falls below it. And if we do see a consolidation around $10, we might see an entry point in Kogan in the near term. I was expecting maybe three or 4 months down the road, not in the next few weeks. So be keeping a close eye on Kogan during the next few weeks to see how the market reacts to the trading today. That is all for this May 21st update to Kogan. If you do have any questions on this company or my strategies or anything, leave a comment or question and I'll answer anything you have to say within the next few days or as soon as possible. Otherwise, I am not a financial advisor, so if you do need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own financial needs. That's all for this video. Have a good day. See you later. Bye.